In 1962, I joined his office and I worked with him. And of course, because I spoke German and had a family relationship, I saw him regularly. We had a jour fixe, Donnerstag, on the Thursday evening for dinner, he and I always, for all these years. So I was his right-hand junior guy. Then towards the end of his life, I know I said in our many conversations, I said, you got to set this office up in such a way that we will not fall apart and everybody will want to start his own office, and the jobs that we are working on now, they have to be finished in your spirit and in your method. And so he then hired a lawyer and he set up a partnership. There were 3 partners, I was one of them. And then after his death, I basically continued this, and the 2 other partners gradually dropped out. So I continued the office and changed the name because I didn't want to become known as Mr. Mies van der Rohe Jr. or anything like that. So I was glad that I had another name. And not everybody immediately knew my connection to Mies. I have analyzed and constantly think about, he lived in Berlin the same number of years he lived in Chicago. And in Chicago he built the world, so many buildings. In Berlin, very little, a few little buildings, and they mostly were outside Berlin. The Tugendhat House, the Barcelona Pavilion, and so on. And the early period, of course, in Potsdam area, these villas, they were remarkable, but very standard. But then he changed after World War I in the 20s. It's interesting. There is a lot that one can discuss, research, analyze, and learn from, in my opinion. And that would be wonderful if in Berlin there was such a place where one would go, because the Neue Nationalgalerie, they, at least as far as I know, the building is a showcase of Mies van der Rohe's work, but inside the building there is no exhibit about him, is there? No, no. That's not their role at all. For the House Lemke, I must say, I wouldn't like it to be just functional spaces like a bookshop and coat rooms and enough visitor toilets and all this stuff. That's banal. You don't need that. We don't want that. You don't go. I wouldn't go to a place where that's the purpose of it. There has to be something more that engages you, that challenges you, and you come away with, wow, that was an experience. That was really good or interesting. Or I don't like it, but I'm challenged. I would probably take a class of students at the architecture school or art school at the Art Institute, whatever, and sit with them for 2 hours and talk about these things and say, what would you like it to be? What do you think should be done so that you are interested in learning more about it, and that is meaningful for you? That's the key word, meaningful. It has to have a meaning to people, so they can use it in their career, what they have learned and what they are knowledgeable of. Yeah. Yeah, and they were published just this last year. I think the House Lemke situation should be, it should not be another Mies museum. It should be by somebody who has has his or her own style, but is influenced and inspired by his progressive architectural thoughts about space use and the continuity of spaces, etc. To develop a center that tells the story of Mies, because he lived there so long, he has a really strong experience. His own life experience was Berlin, really, and that story should not be forgotten in that city. And the challenge is how to make it attractive and meaningful to this generation, the youth, the young people today. That takes a little thinking, takes some creative effort, and maybe some discussions between people around the world that can contribute to that.